This whole alignment between sales and marketing is a very well-trodden path to have an outdoor analogy on top of it. In my estimation, the number one thing that brings alignment is the ICP. That's the voice of highest authority in the business. So if we're truly, and there's not a company out there that says, yeah, we're not customer centric. No, we're not very customer focused. Everybody says we are. Are we really living it though? Because if we're truly living it, then there is one voice that is guiding all departments in the company. And that's the difference right now. Because when you talk about the ego to empathy, right? We are very good at making decisions without consulting anybody. We've been in our careers a long time. We're C-suites, we're a CRO, we're a CMO, we're a CEO. We've been doing this a long time, right? We know what to do. Right? There's not a lack of an ability to make decisions. There is a lack of an ability to really understand that highest voice of authority. So I think when you talk about alignment, the teams that I've talked to, and I've talked to a team, they were the CRO of the year in the United States and his CMO, and we had a podcast, and they said two things were paramount to their success. One was alignment behind the ICP. There's one plan. There's not a sales plan in a market. It was one plan, and they come together and they create it. So this idea of like separate plans and separate objectives, and it just the other thing that they said, which ties back into, I think, the empathy part, and at the very beginning where you were talking about that your company is very people-focused internally and externally. The other part was they attributed over 50% of the success of their company to their company culture. And so I just wanted to throw that out because you talked so warmly and glowingly about human focused, right? That doesn't come because it was written on a mission statement that lives on the website somewhere. It doesn't come because it was in a strategic document somewhere. There has to be a culture that promotes that. Talk to me about the culture inside of your company and the importance of a human-led or focused company.
I think it's really interesting because, of course, in tech, it's very fast paced, right? Like you would think, like, how can you build the bridge between tech and human effectively? How does that work in the tech space? Because we are in marketing, we are results focused, we are business focused and everything, and it's quite fast paced. I think it had to be a very conscious decision by leadership to go down that route. You have to have a very strong HR team, which is actually putting it into the values of human-centric, but not just having the values written on a paper, but really living it and hiring the right people. And that's a lot to do, again, with emotional intelligence and empathy. If you build that core leadership team of people that have that in them, then you can build an organization based on that. And that is truly special because you hire the right people who follow the same values. I think it has to be a very conscious decision by leadership to go down that route and really saying, okay, we do value our employees so much that we want to provide them with the smoothest onboarding so they stay with us long term. And these are the companies that you will see there is lower turnover, right? People stay for so many years because they feel valued, they feel understood, and they feel taken care of. So that's what happens from an employee experience side, which is very important to have that human-centric focus in an organization. But then it's also what you've built internally as a company culture. You're bringing this to your customers as well. You're bringing this to your clients. And this is the ripple effect that can happen from a great company culture. That's really interesting, actually.
It's very interesting. There's so much at play that we don't focus on. Company culture is not something that we talk, that in general in the B2B industry, it's almost like you don't go to any big B2B conference and hear talking about culture, right? No, but you peel the onion behind the scenes and everybody talks about how important the culture is because it's all about attracting and retaining the right people, and people drive business, right? So I want to have time to come back around because you kept saying so many fascinating things. You took me off track here.
Sorry, yeah, goes a bit further than in relationship building because I always try to build the link between leadership and audience relationship building because it ties into together what I'm doing, both from a leadership side, but also from an audience engagement, customer experience side. And I think there's a lot to learn from both sides and incorporate it in each way, each channel. Yeah.